Morning everybody. Again, hope you're all doing well. So, state of the country again. It just doesn't get any better for us in this country, does it, with this Starmer regime in power? It really doesn't. So, a lot of people don't realise just how close we are to total economic collapse in this country. We are a wafer thin paper away from being bankrupt as a country, from being a failed state. Now, most people will probably say this country is already a failed state with the Starmer regime in control, and unfortunately they're going to be very, very correct very soon. Rachel from Accounts has been given several warnings from financial institutions that we're very, very close to an IMF bailout. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a group of countries that get together, we're members of it, and they say if a country's economy is about to collapse, they will bail them out and prop them up until, they can get things back under control. The only issue with this is that the majority of those countries that are in the IMF are in the same boat as this country. Their economies are not doing well, mainly because of mismanagement. I mean, America's one of them, and because of 4 years of the Biden administration, they're trillions in debt. France is close to collapse as well. They're on a similar trajectory as we are for total collapse of their economy. The only people that could really bail us out, as this was pointed out in the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, by the way. I'll try and find a link and post it below so you can go and take a look at it. But the only people that could probably bail us out are Germany and China. Now, as it's been pointed out, if France collapses, it's going to be like a domino effect, basically. What I'm basically saying is there's probably not going to be a bailout. There's probably not going to be a bailout for us. So the country's going to go bankrupt, and the mechanisms that would normally save us from that are going to fail, because the people involved in the safety mechanism won't be able to afford a bailout. I think we're in for some very, very hard times ahead. So what will total economic collapse look like? Well, we had a taste of it in the 1970s when Labour were once again in charge. They called it the winter of discontent. Basically, all government infrastructure just collapses. There's no money to pay for any government infrastructure or to pay for the services that we need to run the country. So your bins won't get collected. Imagine Birmingham, but all over the country. Your bins aren't getting collected. Rubbish is piling up on the streets. Rats are everywhere. You will most likely go down to a 3-day working week or less, because the current situation is far worse than it was in the 70s. So a 3-day working week, and that would mainly be due to the fact that we don't have any energy to run our factories. It would have to be rationed, so we'd have to stagger it. One factory runs one day, another factory runs another day. So it would be rationed. So even private companies would be affected by all of this. There'd probably be mass unemployment due to some companies not lasting. They just, this it's not long since the pandemic, and companies are still recovering from that government fuck up. So we're heading straight into another government fuck up, and we're just not prepared for it. We've got the lunatic Ed Miliband that, instead of opening up the oil fields to provide us an unlimited amount of energy so that we're not reliant on Europe, because we get most of our energy from Europe. We're not energy sufficient ourselves. It's going to be a complete disaster. So Ed Miliband, with all his lunatic net zero policies, has more or less guaranteed that we don't have enough energy to survive any crisis. It looks bleak, very, very bleak. There wouldn't be money to pay benefits. There wouldn't be money to run the NHS. NHS would most likely be running on some kind of skeleton operation, probably like a triage sort of thing. Only emergencies would be dealt with. All operations and that sort of thing will be cancelled because they simply wouldn't be able to afford to do them. You're looking at absolute total societal collapse and chaos if this happens. And on the world stage, while all this is going on, we've got Starmer and Macron, the so-called coalition of the willing, still pushing for war with Russia. Now I can't, tell you enough how bad that is. You already know how bad that would be. This country is in absolutely no state to fight a war. Most of Europe isn't. There's no European country in a state to fight a war with Russia. Simply isn't. It will be insanity. It will be suicide. A lot of hospitals have been put on alert for early next year for mass casualties due to war. That's been reported on. All those mortuary tents that we saw the government buying wasn't for the civil war, it's for the upcoming war that they've got planned with Russia, because they know shit is going to go down. So what's going to kick it all off is, apparently Putin didn't turn up to a meeting or something like, or a deadline passed or something, he didn't respond. And obviously in the background, while all this time while Trump has been pushing for peace, Starmer and his cronies in the background in the deep state have been trying to undermine it, because Ukraine is important to them, because it's literally the people trafficking center of the world. It's money laundering, it's drug cartels, all the dirty little projects that the government doesn't want you to know about, that they've got their hands in. It's all running through the Ukraine. Putin knows this, he'll know this. This is why they want to go to war with Ukraine, with Russia. It's got nothing to do with protecting a sovereign country. It's got everything to do with protecting their own interests and their own money laundering schemes. Because Ukraine is the most corrupt country on the planet. It is. Before the Russia-Ukraine war, our own press were reporting on how corrupt that country was. Anyway, I'm getting away from the topic. We talk about our own country. So basically, they're pushing for war with Russia, but we don't have an army capable of fighting Russia. So you're talking about conscriptions. You're talking about them. What is it? Conscription, is it 18 to 40? 18 to 40? They'll be conscripting into the army to go and fight in a war for them. How many people do you think are going to want to put their lives on the line for Starmer and his cronies after they've just wrecked the country? Given that, economic collapse in the country, in the current state and mood and climate of this country, could kick off a civil war within itself. That could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. That's the thing that could take us over the line regarding that. I know it's not good news, but on this channel I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm not going to say everything's going to be okay, because it's not. And even if we don't go to war with Russia, even if that doesn't happen, even if we carry on the same path with economic collapse in this country, and say the Starmer regime just collapses in on itself and an early general election is formed, who exactly have we got to go in there and solve this mess? There's nobody. Do you really think the parties we've got at the minute could go in there and solve the problem of this country? Even an experienced government is going to find it extremely hard to solve the mess of a completely collapsed economy and a failed state. So a lot of people are going to point to the Reform Party and say, well, they're high in the polls, they'll probably get in. But they're an inexperienced party made up of the very people that set us on this trajectory in the first place. How capable do you think these people are going to be to get us out of this mess? That's just an honest question, and I could say that for any party. They're inexperienced. They've never been in government before. They wouldn't know. It would, you know, you're talking about decades, absolute decades, to get us out of this mess that we're in right now. You know, this isn't a problem we're going to be solving. This is a problem our children are going to be solving for decades and decades to come. You don't recover quickly from total economic collapse of your country. Look at all the failed states in Africa. Look at them. It's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. And all we can do is batten down the hatches, form communities. And I keep saying this, we need to form communities because you're going to need each other. Because the government isn't going to come to your help. The MPs aren't going to come rushing in to your aid. They're going to be looking after themselves. The only people who are going to help you are going to be your next door neighbours, the people living next to you, your own community. That's why I've always advised in my live streams, form communities, look after one another. You're going to need each other. You really are. Really are. We're all going to need each other. Not just talking about you, I'm talking about myself as well. We're all going to need each other in the coming crisis that's coming, because we can't avoid it. These people are hell-bent on taking us into this. That there's no U-turns, there's no reasoning with these people. They think they are doing the right thing. And this isn't just the Labour Party, this is consecutive governments since 1997 that have set us on this path to self-destruction. It is. It is. Ever since Tony Blair got into power, opened the floodgates to immigration, this country has been on this path of total and utter destruction. This is Vindicator, signing off.